The tilt is real.
The tilt is real.
This is when the tilt is real.
Welcome to another episode of The Tilt is Real Fantasy Podcast. Coming to you live from the chef's table, here are your hosts, James Crease and Juan Pena. Let's go.
Welcome back to the Tilt is Real Fantasy Football Podcast. It is Wednesday, June 23rd. This is episode 57, and we are going to continue our divisional breakdown, heading down south with the NFC. And Juan, we are blessed with royalty, Twitter royalty here today at the chef's table. We have Cooterdoodle in the building.
In the building, metaphorically, I am here.
In the building.
I love that Cooter is here, Chef, and I didn't want to embarrass her and call her a Twitter star and all that stuff and blow her up, so I did it off air so that we wouldn't make her blush in the first 30 seconds of the pod.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're ecstatic to have Cooterdoodle here. It is Wednesday, my dudes. That's for the spirit of Mr. Swanson, who may not be with us this week. So he's here and represented. It is Wednesday, my dudes, and we have Cooterdoodle. So we are ecstatic today.
Oh, it's awesome, man. I can't wait. We are going to tilt on some NFC South. Last week, we talked about AFC East with Jeff Bell. Him and I broke down Josh Allen, Tua, Zach Wilson, Elijah Moore, and so many more from the AFC East. One of his favorite sleepers, shout out, was Jonnu Smith. If you missed last week's episode, go to Apple Podcasts, whatever platform you're on, and catch up with episode 56. Quick reminder, if you're listening on podcast form and you'd like to be a part of the show, which we encourage people to jump in the chat, talk it up, ask questions, hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube at The Tilt is Real and hop in the chat. We're here to help you win your league.
Yeah, a lot of people in our chats are winners, our boy Justin, namely, but there's a lot of guys that were holding up trophies last year because they listened to the Tilt and they gave us big ups for that. And so, yeah, participate, send in your questions like we always do. It's not the Sunday tilt just yet, but we are tilting on some of these decisions on who we want to draft. And we're bringing in people, correspondents from each division. And Cooterdoodle is here to represent the Saints and the NFC South. And we're going to be diving deep into a lot of the teams, but especially with the Saints. And I can't wait. I got a couple serious questions for you, Cooter.
I'm ready. I mean, I have my emotions invested in the team, so I may not be seeing clearly. You'll have to, set me back straight, but...
Well, funny because one of the questions is about LASIK and vision and all that.
Oh, so there you go. There you go.
Together, yeah.
Before we get into all that, tell us what happened this week, Cooter, because apparently you have hacked Fantasy Life. What is going on with that? I see Matthew Berry all over your site.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much added him in my phone. I have a little picture that says BFF as a joke, and best friends forever. I don't know. It's a weird world. Every time people are like, congrats I get to run this account now. I'm like, it's a fever dream. I don't know really what's happening, but I'm going to keep riding the wave while I have it. So
that's just awesome. Everybody go out and check out at MB Fantasy Life on Twitter. That's where Cooter will be posting all of the exciting, entertaining tweets out there. I mean, I love your videos. You got the petite pods going, very, very popular.
And we have the added comedy of all the people that don't know me that are going to see that stuff and probably, to bring it full circle, tilt because it's going to drive them insane. So
that's awesome. I'm so looking forward to it.
Yes, sir.
So before we start tilting into the NFC South, let's do what we always do and break into some news. Not too much going on, but there's enough for a weekly reel.
Keep it real.
It's the weekly reel, presented by The Tilt is Real. It's the weekly reel. Let me hear that news.
Okay, so we have some coach speak of the week. The Athletics' Tori McElhenney said the Falcons could use wide receiver running back Cordarrelle Patterson in a more traditional role this season. McElhenney said Patterson will be a major part of the special teams, but also an added piece to the puzzle on offense. Now, Juan, when we think of Cordell Patterson, we saw him taking some snaps last year with the Chicago Bears when Montgomery went down. Does this scare us knowing that Mike Davis sits on top of the depth chart in Atlanta? Or is it just don't even worry about Patterson? He's just going to be a little fill in here or there.
I think it's a little bit too early to decipher what's going to happen with that backfield. And I don't know what they mean by more traditional when they have the designation that he's a running back wide receiver and you already don't know. Like, are you going to use him traditionally as a wide receiver, or is he going to be in the backfield? Is he your third down back? Is he a change of pace? Like, we don't know what he's going to be. And yeah, if they're going to give Davis that role where he gets the mini Derrick Henry role with the Arthur Smith offense, then I mean, I have to say that he's probably going to be irrelevant, except maybe in best ball you take him in case he has a game. I don't know what to do with him.
And at the end of the day, I mean, we've seen so many offenses utilize more than one running back nowadays, on top of the fact that if you have Davis, he's not going to be your RB1, I would hope. So I don't think it changes much, right? Like it's
You hope.
fine. Yeah.
Yeah, no. And it's that time of year that we're digging for information to talk about. One thing that struck me as some real coach speak was Seahawks head coach Pete Carroll coming out and saying that tight end Gerald Everett will be a real threat in the throwing game this season. Now, Carroll said the addition of Everett to Seattle's offense gives the team the fanciest, sweetest looking receiver tight end mix that they've ever had. Now, they've had Greg Olsen on that team. They've had Jacob Hollister. Who else did they? They still have the Mountain Will Disley, yeah. Right? But now they add in Gerald Everett, and he comes over with the new offensive coordinator from the Rams, which he already knows the system. He's played in that type of offense, so he doesn't really have to play catch up, learn a new playbook. I'm kind of liking Gerald Everett as a late round sleeper flyer for a tight end if I'm looking for a streamer this year.
Especially in the first half of the year when you know Russell Wilson's going to cook. That's when I'm probably going to hope that he's going to pop off for you. But then you know how he peters off at the end. So you want to have a backup.
Yeah, he's definitely one of those guys I'm going to target in late rounds, and he's going to be a second option, like you said, Shep, like a sleeper candidate, because the dude is athletic. Like, he's above the 75th percentile in burst, 40, speed, agility, catch radius. Like, he's really, really good physically, and he was drafted high in the second round once upon a time. So, like, he has the talent, and Carroll's not wrong in saying that, it looks sweet there, because that is probably the most athletic tight end to play for them in the last 4 or 5 years. So, but again, it's still kind of coach speak, and it's early.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely coach speak.
Prove it, Petey.
Speaking of coaches, shout out Big Greens. Even on vacation, he had to click in when he saw the NFC South stream. He says, "What's up, guys?" Shout out Big Greens. Big Greens has been with us all season long and in the off season. One of our loyal listeners, viewers. Big shout out to Big Greens. We appreciate you, man. Hope you're enjoying your vacation.
If they stick around in the off season, that's a real one, right?
Yeah, they're real. Straight up, they're real. Shout out Big Green. Shout out to Justin. All our loyal fans. We appreciate you so much. It's what keeps us tilting. That's for sure.
Yes, sir.
Speaking of tilting, I guess Saquon Barkley is tilting in the right direction as he was shown cutting and catching passes in a workout video. Barkley's Instagram video showed him doing agility drills on the beach and starting with ease. I'm loving that. Shout out Steffi Smalls. She posted that in our group chat that we share with Cooterdoodles involved. And it showed him working out on the beach. Feet were moving, hips were moving. Those quads look like they are in great shape. The ACL does not look like it is an issue. And I'm looking forward to Saquon Barkley coming back fresh for the 2021 season.
Cooter, do me a favor. Can you talk me out of making him my 101 again this year? Because I do it to myself every year, and I keep making myself wanting him to be the 101. And I need somebody to talk some sense into me.
So you keep doing it, is what you're saying, and you want to not do it? Oh,
yes,
buddy.
I don't want to take him. I want to take CMC 101. I want to take Dalvin Cook 102. I want to take Kamara 103 and leave him where he is at 104 right now, ADP. Like, I want to leave him there. Maybe even Derrick Henry. But I don't know. I'm going to end up drafting him.
I'm one of those people that, like, I definitely fall into those patterns where you have that guy you just want for whatever reason, or you just believe in. And so if that's your guy, I'm not even going to talk you out of it. I think you need to go for it.
And enabler. There you go.
Yeah,
See?
there you go.
Yeah,
I'll
there you
enable
go.
it. Get him with that 101. I know Steffi would be proud.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to take your shot on someone that hasn't really done it in a couple of years due to injury, I mean, go ahead. He's burned me twice. I still say he's generational, but maybe there's another running back in the NFC South, like Brad Bolt saying, Panthers NFC South champs. Shout out to Brad Bolt, all the way in Australia.
Brad.
We love you, Brad.
Yes, sir.
Brad, we got to get you back on the show, man. It's been almost a year. Got to do it.
Brad must be on a delay being in Australia to think the Panthers have a chance, right? What year is he? Like, he's working with some old data right there.
That's that 2015 stuff.
There you go.
Hilarious. All right, and then a little bit of iffy contract news with Bills wide receiver Cole Beasley. Now, Beasley said the 2020 protocols may force him into retirement. And when we say 2020 on this show, you guys don't know, we don't use the C word that ends with a D. We don't do it here.
There's so many.
He said he'd rather take his chances with the 2020 and build up immunity instead of, getting a shot. So exercise and do what he thinks is necessary to be a healthy individual. That's his choice based on his experiences and what he thinks is best. Beasley posted on Twitter saying, if I'm forced into retirement, so be it. Now, this is not necessarily fantasy football news, but it could have fantasy football implications where he is listed as the wide receiver 2 on that roster right now for fantasy. If he doesn't, we're looking at Gabriel Davis skyrocketing up ADP draft boards, which I don't want because I'm getting him at a value right now.
Yeah, I mean, he's like one of those guys you can get really late. And I like the Bills' offense this year entirely too much. I'm way too high on them. I'm trying to get Allen and Diggs everywhere and Gabriel too sometimes. So, yeah, I agree. Definitely some implications here.
Cooter, as a Dolphins fan, it pains me to say I am too. I'm even drafting Singletary and Zach Moss. Like I'm taking everybody from that offense. I'm taking them both and hoping it works out for me. I just believe in the offense altogether, and I feel like maybe 200 targets for Diggs. Like if Cole Beasley's not there, like what are we looking at? How many targets?
I like the Zach Moss thing. I'm not so keen on Singletary. I think he's a bust waiting to happen. But
you know me in the handcuff, Chef.
Yeah, I know it. The handcuff game works until it doesn't work. Big Greens goes out and says, famous Jameis throwing 35 touchdowns. Don't be surprised when the Saints win the South again.
Oh, that just let's manifest it. Like just keep saying it over and over. Put it on a board. I'm okay with that.
You're okay with that?
Oh yeah. Oh my God.
So Cooter's down for that. That sounds good. And with that being said, let's get into the NFC South breakdown, because we definitely want to talk about those quarterbacks.
So is Big Green's producing the show or what?
Yeah, I don't know, man, but he's stepping in perfect timing. Let's see it. So I had to do the Saints marching in for Cooterdoodle coming in. And we're going to start right off with her team, and that's the New Orleans Saints. Now, Cooter, I'm going to ask you, because it's your team, who would you prefer as quarterback? Would you want to go the Taysom Hill route that we saw last year, or would you rather go Jameis Winston? Now, I'm not talking fantasy, but we'll get to the fantasy implications after.
Fan.
Right, as a fan.
As a fan, I would like to see Winston. One, because the little bit that we saw of him last year, which it was not much. I think he maybe had 7-9 attempts, something like that. He did great. He was looking good. And I think Hill is best whenever people don't know what to expect from him. And as a fan, it's so much fun watching him on the field and you don't know where he's going to go, what he's going to do, what kind of trick play is coming. So yes, I would love to see Winston be the number one. I know they're probably going to go more of a 60-40 or something. Some people even say split, but I would love for Winston to be the starter and then Hill to just take on that role that he had when Drew Brees was killing it.
I love that. And in real football, I firmly believe that the guy who was a number one pick, who threw for 5,000 yards and now had LASIK to fix his vision, and seems like he's finally committed. He's now 27 years old, and he was a little like immature, I think, coming out of college. And he had a lot of problems in Tampa and turning the ball over and all that. And I feel like he might have addressed it. Like, I'm always the eternal optimist on the show, and I always right, silver linings and all that. I just feel like Winston gives you the most upside. Like, are you really going to go into a shootout with Green Bay or with Tampa Bay in the playoffs?
Not with Hill.
Right. With Hill, you're not going to do that. You're going to need Winston to be able to get you over the hump. So I feel like if he gets things right, I feel like Winston's probably the guy.
Now, here's the thing. Do you guys remember last season? Because this is something me and like our buddies and group chats from Louisiana talk about a lot. Because even back then, last season, I was like, it's Winston. And they pointed out that during a game with Drew Brees, when the defense went on the field, Drew went to the side, he's looking at plays, and Taysom is right next to him, and Winston was nowhere to be seen. And so we have in this group chat kind of a dilemma where they think Winston should have been kind of mentoring more and been more involved. And so that it's going to be Taysom because he's showing more commitment, like on and off the field. And maybe that's true. I don't know, but I agree with you on that. I just think we need the guy who can sling the ball, because that's where we failed last year. Drew couldn't get the ball down the field, and we wasted people like Trequan Smith. And in my opinion, that's why we didn't make it as further. I think we could have beat Tampa if we could have just thrown the ball more than 10, 20 yards.
I think it has a lot to do with that, getting the ball down the field, being able to spread the ball around in the offense. I think when Taysom Hill is on the field, the defense kind of expects it to be a shorter play.
Oh yeah.
They can read that. They keen in on Alvin Kamara a little bit more. They keen in on the quarterback sweeps and the quarterback runs rather. And I was doing some research on this question, and to flip it over to fantasy, I prefer Winston over Hill. All right. We saw him in his last year at Tampa. He had 9 top 10 finishes as a quarterback for fantasy. And then he had 5 top 4 finishes in that year. So if he is the guy for the Saints, I'm definitely willing to pick him up over Taysom Hill. I'm not spending a draft pick in redraft to pick up Taysom Hill. ADP 161 overall right now. I'm going to wait until week 1 waivers run to see who the quarterback is going to be. And then I'll race to go pick up Jameis for free because he's going undrafted right now at 216 overall.
And not even that, Chef. So Kamara's falling. Michael Thomas is falling because everyone saw the slump that they had with Taysom. And so if you have anyone in your league that believes Taysom's the number one, they're going to be letting those guys fall way too far, and you can get them. In my opinion, Kamara should not be going as late as he is. Even Thomas is going, like, I don't know, is it round 4, round 5? Like, I just feel like if you don't trust in the offense, you're letting them slip, and anyone else can just get such a good value off of that.
That's definitely the key right there, is value, because Jameis Winston on a free, 5,000 yards and 33 touchdowns. Forget about the 30 interceptions. Chef, to your point about the big games, he had 11 games over 300 yards. So the last year he was healthy and played the full season in Tampa. So I love Jameis, like I said, for the upside in real football and for the upside in fantasy, because at best, what is Taysom Hill? Like, what's his best, QB finish that you could hope for if he played the whole season? Top 15, top 12 because of the rushing, maybe. But Jameis was QB2 a couple years ago. So give me that upside for sure, especially at that value.
Oh, yeah.
We know we have Michael Thomas. We know we have Alvin Kamara. I am definitely willing to roster both of them. And especially if I get them at a value, like I'm not passing on Alvin Kamara at 7 overall. If he falls to me there, I'm taking him for sure.
Same.
And if Michael Thomas ADP right now is 32 overall in the 3rd round, I'm happy with Michael Thomas as my wide receiver 1 if I got 2 stellar running backs in front of him.
Yep.
He's a league winner.
So,
absolutely.
I can definitely see it. Do you guys think that Marquez Callaway or Trequan Smith later in drafts might be a steal as well, or even a flyer on the waiver wire this year?
I'm a fan of Trequan Smith. I don't know as much about Callaway, but I was ready, and I even talked about it last season. I was ready for Trequan Smith to have some big games last year. And again, Drew just couldn't get the ball down the field, so we never really got to see what he could do. But I think if they have Winston, he's going to be one of those guys that people probably aren't going to really be drafting in redraft. And if you can get him really late, like in a deep league, I think that's a guy that's going to, after a few games, once people kind of get a feel for the offense, he's going to be one you want.
Big Green says it's Callaway season. Yeah, I mean, there's a shot that Callaway is actually fantasy relevant this year, along with Trequan Smith. Trequan Smith, this is his third year in the system. He knows the playbook. He's familiar with the routes. He just hasn't bloomed, like you said. And I think he has a shot. If I had to pick out of one of them, I would go Trequan Smith, just because he has had a couple games where he was fantasy relevant, but he disappeared. Juan?
Yeah, Chef. Shout out to the Waiver Wire Hero show, where we're going to be talking about Marquez Callaway and Trequan Smith in week 1, if Jameis is the starter. Like, they're both going to be listed there. They're going to be week-to-week boom or bust players, but we saw in Tampa, you don't throw for 5,000 yards to just one receiver. It wasn't just Mike Evans. It was Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. And it was Adam Humphries at 1.2 in that offense. So you have a lot of guys that are going to get fed, and it's going to be riding the hot hand. I like both of them in best ball, especially if Jameis gets the job. I love them both in best ball because they're going to have those games where they get 2 over the top, whether it's Callaway or whether it's Trequan Smith. So I think they're both going to be fantasy relevant at the end of the day.
I couldn't agree more. And the one guy I'm looking at as a flyer last round or week 1 waivers is the tight end, Adam Troutman.
Troutman.
There's no Jared Cook in the way anymore.
Yep.
Josh Hill is a blocking tight end. Let's get it straight.
Yep.
And Trout, I was looking at it last year. Tight end targets, 86 last year, 60 receptions, 9 targets. 60 receptions and 721 yards, 9 total touchdowns to the tight end position.
Mm-hmm.
If that is the case, Adam Troutman is going to be very fantasy relevant this season.
That makes him like tight end 7 or 8, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. It makes him somewhere along that line.
Yeah.
But he's going as tight end 20 right now, ADP of 190 the last round of your drafts. So I'm all in on Troutman as a flyer. I like it. Yeah, Troutman for president. Calling it now.
Adam for prez.
I do have a side bet with Jacob about Troutman over Kmet. We started months ago. So like in my heart, I want it to be Troutman, but also for a side bet, I need Kmet to kind of pull his weight too, I want all these tight ends to flourish.
We always do, right? And we always talk about the pile up after the top 3. You don't know which tight end it's going to be. Why can't it be Adam Troutman? Why can't he be Jared Cook from 2 years ago and end up, top 6? I like Kmet, but I'd rather have Jameis than Andy Dalton. So
yeah, I know. And not even that. Y'all keep talking about Cook, but I mean, guys, Ben Watson, Jimmy Graham, it's just collectively that tight end's going to be probably the 3rd most productive other than quarterback on the team, So
that's crazy
100%.
How we always underrate the Saints tight end too, with those names like Ben Watson, Jimmy Graham. They were big names.
That was league winners.
League winners with Drew Brees as the quarterback. And that I guess it all has to do with who the quarterback is going to be. And we'll be talking about that all off season, all through training camp. The training camp battle down there is going to be real. We all hope it's Winston, but it's a wait and see situation.
Yep.
All right, so let's fly over to the Atlanta Falcons and talk some Falcons. Matt Ryan. We've seen him with Julio. We've seen him without Julio. Will he be valuable for fantasy this year without Julio Jones completely in the offense at all?
Will he be valuable? Yes. Will he be top 5? No. We have enough of a sample size of games that he played without Julio Jones to be able to see that when Jones isn't there, he's basically mediocre. He averages 260 yards a game, 1.56 touchdowns, and 1 interception in the games that he's played in his career. And 25 games is a big sample size. And at the end of the day, he's Matt Ryan. So 88 passer rating when Julio Jones is in there. Oh, you're like, oh, that's not too bad. the team's going to be okay. And they probably are. And they're going to be Arthur Smith style. And they're not going to throw it 600 times. They're going to throw it a lot less. They're going to be more conservative and run the ball. But he's not going to have the upside. He doesn't have the window to finish top 5. So I'm staying away from him in a lot of leagues. He may have a good game here or there, but 260 yards a game doesn't impress me. Like, that doesn't, inspire me to draft him any kind of early. If he falls at the right price, I guess, but I'm going to have a hard time ranking him inside the top 12.
Yeah.
And is he?
Go ahead.
Sorry,
Cooter.
Chef.
Sorry.
I was just gonna say, is he one of those guys that I kind of feel like as a quarterback, but he's enough to sustain and make you want Ridley and Pitts. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
But him alone, I mean, there's better stuff out there. There's bigger players I'd rather have, but he's not bad enough to where he's affecting them.
If we're talking like best ball situation, I don't mind him as a quarterback too, just in case, because he could go off with Ridley and Pitts, and we'll get to Russell Gage in a second. But I did the numbers. He was only top 10 one time without Julio Jones on the field. Like, that's not something that I want to bank on. Ridley, on the other hand, he was still very valuable for fantasy. Russell Gage even flashed a little bit here or there. And we know they're going to use 2 tight end sets with Kyle Pitts and Hayden Hurst. So I think it's I'm going to avoid Matt Ryan as my starting quarterback, and it's becoming a going trend. I'm looking at it, and I have it in the notes for further down the show, but we can unleash it here because all these quarterbacks are going under the QB9 mark. I think Tom Brady's the QB9 right now in fantasy in ADP wise. The top 7 guys are going in the 5th round, by the 5th, 6th round. It's no longer wait on your quarterback. It's just that way. If you want a good quarterback, you got to go and grab them, and it's a dice roll. And I'd rather have a great quarterback than get stuck with one of Matt Ryan or I would even say Sam Darnold. I wouldn't want Sam Darnold as my starting quarterback.
That's what I was about to ask you. I was about to say, since we're talking about the NFC South, Darnold or Ryan, who do you prefer?
Matt Ryan.
If you had to pick Matt Ryan?
Yeah,
I'm going Darnold.
See, I'm going Darnold. I think I want to see him. I just want to see him on this team. I'm not gonna lie. I think I might get him in some leagues really late just to kind of try it out.
Here's what happens, Chef. The reason that I'm doing this is upside again. You know me, I bank on the upside and value. Like, if Sam Darnold's going 32 overall, that means I'm getting him basically free. Or I'm getting him and Winston in rounds 15 and 16. Week to week, they're gonna be able to be good. Darnold's going to face Atlanta twice. I'm starting him those 2 weeks. Winston's playing Atlanta twice. I'm starting him those 2 weeks. So I'm going to be able to stream my quarterback. And if I'm going to stream my quarterback, I want to stream my quarterback for the offensive coordinator that had someone throw for 60 touchdowns in college and is changing the game. And he's familiar with Robbie Anderson. And they have DJ Moore and Christian McCaffrey with the yak and all that. I just feel like the upside is there more for Darnold versus Ryan, who's going to give me a floor that we've already seen without Julio. And then his offensive coordinator is Ryan Tannehill's offensive coordinator. Take away the rushing touchdowns from Tannehill. What do you got? 12, 15 overall quarterback, maybe, like at most, if you take away his touchdown. So give me the kid with the upside, and I'll take a flyer 6 rounds later, because he's going to get drafted because he's Matt Ryan in your leagues. You know it. He's going to get drafted in the 9th, 10th, 11th round. And I'd rather wait till the 15th and take Sam Darnold and take a flyer. And
Sam Darnold's going QB 32 right now. So yeah, he is a viable streaming option for fantasy. And I don't think you have to go out and roster him in drafts. Like, that's the whole thing that I like about Sam Darnold. Like, he is linked to DJ Moore. He is linked to Robbie Anderson. They have Christian McCaffrey there. And we're jumping around a little bit, but hey, screw it. We're just tilting on everything.
Yeah, we're just tilting on
we're tilting on the quarterbacks in the NFC South, which I love. I don't care. Let's keep rolling.
But no, Chef, to Cooter's point real quick, Matt Ryan will sustain tight ends and wide receivers. Calvin Ridley will be fine, and Kyle Pitts will be fine. Like, the Tennessee offense last year threw it to the tight end 29.6% of the time. So, like, if you're throwing it to the tight end, Pitts will eat. Hayden Hurst will eat. And you wanted to talk about him a little bit, but Russell Gage, is he Corey Davis? Like, is he in that role in that offense? Can he step up to that at least and be somewhere in the 30s where he's rosterable?
All right. So we talked about Russell Gage a little bit last year. I was on the Russell Gage train. All right. This year, ADP 175, wide receiver 61. I mean, he's coming in on your team as a flex option. You won't know when to start him. Depending on Matt Ryan's production, we don't know when. We know he's not the number 1, 2, or 2 target on that team. He is at best the third receiving target on that team behind Kyle Pitts and Calvin Ridley. So his upside is capped with that. I'd rather have Gabriel Davis, who's going one spot behind him at wide receiver. I guess he's like wide receiver 62, wide receiver 63, Gabriel Davis, who has more upside stretching the field, that scored 7 touchdowns last year with Josh Allen in that offense. So is it worth taking Russell Gage at his current ADP as a flex option? No, I'm not interested. I'm backing off of Russell Gage for that reason, because I know it's going to be 2 tight end sets. They're going to run Kyle Pitts as a receiver, and Russell Gage may fill in a little bit here or there, but I'm not confident on his fantasy production for 2021.
And I think it's exactly what you said. You're just not going to know which weeks you're going to be comfortable to start him. And to me, in redraft, that's one of the worst things in the world, is having a guy that puts up the numbers a little bit on your bench and you start him and he gives you a goose egg. So I'd rather Davis too.
And Jeff Bell, for whom Jay Bell told, shout out, he came on the show last week. He says Pitts isn't a tight end. Yes, we know Pitts is not a tight end. He is a unicorn. Built like a tight end, can play the receiver role, great. But how early are we willing to snag him in drafts? His ADP currently is 69, great number. Tight end 5, okay. Are we willing to take him in the 6th round of drafts? Because we haven't seen him yet. Like, I guess there's some people that are like, yes, we can go ahead and grab him. And then there's other people that are like, kind of hesitant, and they're going to wait a year to see what he does.
So my opinion, I know this is redraft, but let's just talk for a second. If you wait a year and he does well, he's not going to cost you much more than he already is, I feel like, right? I mean, I'm personally always cautious of rookies just because I don't watch college, so I trust you guys to fill me in on all that. But I feel like if it's me and I'm in that round, I would much rather go with somebody that I am confident I've seen in an NFL game to produce for me, especially in redraft, just because like you said, like I said, you just haven't seen him yet. So I don't know, but I wouldn't hate someone for taking him that early.
Yeah, I feel like that's a great price, actually, right there. That 69, that's okay. Like, that's where you should probably take them. 6th round, 7th round, you already have the core of your team. You want to take a shot on an upside player, go ahead and go for it. The problem is, by the time we get to really drafting in August, his ADP is going to be way higher. Yeah, yep. The hype machine's going to start. He's going to be all over TV. Everybody's going to be showing clips of all the catches that he makes, the targets. They'll be talking about all kinds of upside and the fact that Arthur Smith likes to throw it to the tight end. And it's going to climb, and then that's when I won't pay for it. Because Cooter, you're right. Next year, he'll be a 3rd-round pick like Waller. Like, that's where you're going to have to take him, late 2nd, early 3rd. And I don't want to pay for a 4th-round pick for him now when I can just wait and have him next year in the 3rd if he really becomes that superstar. So I'm out on the price when it gets to that point.
It is creeping up. And if it creeps up any higher, like Juan, like you just mentioned, it may not be worth it. Like, the risk is worth the reward, I guess, if he really pans out to be the superstar that he's supposed to be. But T. Higgins going at 67 overall, Travis Etienne, Ronald Jones going 70-71 right now. I guess you could probably take T. Higgins over Kyle Pitts.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know if I need a stellar tight end, especially if it's a tight end premium, then I wouldn't mind rolling the dice if he falls that far for me.
But I'd rather, like we said earlier with Troutman, I'd rather just get someone solid round 5, round 4, and get Troutman late.
Yup, stream it and get somebody like that later on. Get 2 of those guys later on. You can afford to do it. And Chef, even behind him, we haven't seen it at all. And we're taking him over Noah Fant. We're taking him over Cortland Sutton. We're taking him over Juju, who's a target monster. We're taking him over Jamar Chase. Like, that's where I have a little bit of a hard time. Like,
fair enough.
You know what I mean?
Over Logan Thomas, who has done it.
Yeah, who did it last year? You're right. So, yeah, I'm gonna fade that price. I'm not gonna pay that price for him.
I mean, it comes down to it. If there is something that I'm going to reach for, it's going to be one of those Konami code quarterbacks instead of or a gunslinger like Justin Herbert or something like that, that I know that I can rely on to get me more fantasy points.
Oh, I would much rather,
than taking
Justin
a
Herbert.
large risk on Kyle Pitts. So that's something that's good because a lot of people are on the train, and I know it's not a dynasty show, but I have my one share of Kyle Pitts.
Yep,
all right, I have it. I'm going to store it on the side, see what happens. I'm hopefully going to win because it's a tight end premium league, but we'll see. I'm really interested to see the reports when training camp starts, and I hope that Hard Knocks is one of these NFC South teams. I really
Oh God, that would be beautiful. That's my favorite time of the year.
I want to see Hard Knocks around a rookie camp, like the Jaguars. Like Juan, we talked about the Jaguars. That would be a great one. I think Atlanta would be interesting too, and they would focus in on Kyle Pitts a little bit more. I mean, that would drive up his draft price even more, like we saw with Waller, etc. I feel like every time they have a team on Hard Knocks, their ADP shoot up. Like I was praising Joshua Kelly last year, and that fizzled out, not in my favor.
We're always trying to find the sleeper on Hard Knocks, and it usually doesn't work out that way. Chef, the Jets would be a good one too. The Panthers would be a good one. Like there's a few places where Hard Knocks would be really interesting this year.
And let's talk about Mike Davis. All right, are we okay with taking Mike Davis as your running back 2 or 3 at his current draft price of ADP 59? I like Mike Davis. I liked him last year on the Panthers. He kind of helped some people win their leagues. I think he finished like running back. What did he finish? Running back 10, 12? Somewhere along those lines, maybe 15. But he had some fantasy relevant weeks, enough to get him a starting job in Atlanta. And there's not much behind him as far as Quadri Allison and Javian Hawkins, the rookie that they just drafted, who is not a 3-down back. So Mike Davis is the guy in this offense, and he could be a solid bye week fill-in at least for your fantasy teams, who at his price of ADP 59, I wouldn't mind having as an RB3, not an RB2. What do you guys think?
Yeah. For me, it depends on what kind of draft you're in. Like if you're doing like Juan and you went Barkley 101 or like early on, I don't know if I would want him as much or maybe I do. Maybe that's why I would want him. I don't know. I'm trying to think like overall, it depends on how you draft because can you rely on him? Like what else are you relying on? Who's your RB1 and what else do you have going for you? Because if you have a wonky draft where you're kind of being risky and you've got these players that are coming off of injury, I don't know. I'd rather get somebody that I'm sure is going to have more production at that point.
Yeah, I don't want to make him the first RB3 either. I don't like him as my second. Like if I like your scenario, Cooter, let's play it out real quick. If I go Saquon Barkley at 1, at 24, 25, I'm looking at that group of Eckler, Aaron Jones, CEH, DeAndre Swift, David Montgomery, like those kind of guys, right? So if I ended up with 2 of those guys somehow, then I make him my RB3, but not at 59 overall, not in the I guess 59 overall. That's late in the 5th round. So yeah, I would probably get him in the 6th round. I wouldn't want to take him in the 5th. I feel like there's a receiver there for me.
But would you rather like Barkley, Eckler, some wide receivers, and then you take like Herbert? You know what I mean? Yeah, that's where I'd pass on Davis. You know what I mean? So it depends on what you're building. But I don't hate it. I just feel like you have to be confident in what you have around it before you rely on him.
Yeah, he scares me a little bit because he had the CMC usage last year and you picked him up on the free. So all of a sudden you think it was like a great value, but that's the first time like he immediately moves teams. And I thought they were going to draft a running back because they did it to him with David Montgomery, picked him up, signed him to a 2-year deal. See you later. He goes to Carolina, tries to revive his career. He does. He's 29. He looks great, but he's 29. Like how much are they really going to give him the ball? And he had 70 targets last year in Carolina. And I just don't see him getting that kind of passing game work in the Arthur Smith offense. He didn't throw it to Derrick Henry. They don't throw it to the running back. And if they do, it's going to be Patterson or Quadri Allison or somebody else, but it's not going to be Mike Davis, I don't think. So I'm scared of him and I'm going to stay away from him. If he falls to me in the 6th round, great. But earlier than that, can't do it.
Fair enough.
Can't do it.
I like him as a backup. Yeah. As a flex spot. I'm not worried about him. I think he's going to get all the touches, at least 15 per game. And if he gets into that like Todd Gurley role around the goal line, I think he could definitely be valuable for fantasy. Yeah.
I just think he's more LeGarrette Blount potential than Derrick Henry potential. So it's not like I'm rushing to get him in the third round. I'd rather wait and get him later on.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going out of my way to pick up Mike Davis. Don't hear what I'm not saying. But
well, I mean, have you seen those quads? So
yeah, I love the quads. Hey, I wrote an article on Mike Davis. He's a great value. But if he goes up anymore in draft boards, I am definitely not taking
too high.
Him. But that's the whole thing with all the running backs this year. It seems like there is a drop off after the fourth round where there are limited running backs everywhere. We go, I guess it's that Josh Jacobs area of the draft at the end of the third round. I see Josh Jacobs falling into the third round. Miles Sanders, Chris Carson.
That's the drop off. I think that's the cutoff.
It's the cutoff there. And you know, it's going to be tough. If you don't grab two running backs in the first three rounds, then you might be looking at like a Mike Davis or a Myles Gaskin to lead your fantasy team, which is not a good strategy, in my opinion.
Not with the scarcity of the position. No. Yeah, you're going to need to have three of them. I think I have no choice this year, depending, I guess, like Cooter said, where you are in the draft, you know, but I want to go 3 running backs in a row.
But the good news is y'all are saying the trend right now is that quarterbacks, people aren't waiting. So that leaves those running backs for us and for other people to go snag up that they wouldn't have had before.
Yeah, it's also going to push down the receiver value too, which there's already enough.
There's so many.
There's so many of them that you can get. But like, if you're getting Allen Robinson at the end of the third round, you know, if I'm choosing between Allen Robinson and like Chris Carson, I'm going to take Allen Robinson because he should be a first round, second round type pick and, you know, a league winner type. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of upsides and a lot of tilts this year. So if we're going to be tilting all off season.
I mean, the strategy I'm building in my head is you go running back, you get a wide receiver that has a solid wide receiver one floor, like a Keenan Allen, Allen Robinson, like you mentioned, a Robert Woods, and then you can go ahead and get a field stretcher or a wide receiver with some upside after in round 4, unless you want to go and even deeper and take another running back in Chris Carson to solidify that you have 3 starting running backs. It's going to be tough this year. It really is, because the drop off is real, just like the tilt is.
And Cooter, your boy Michael Thomas doesn't get past me in the third round. I don't care if I'm picking 25 or if I'm picking 36. I'm not letting the league winner get by me in the third round. That's absurd.
And I think he will. I think he will for now. And until if they don't announce who's starting at quarterback, he's going to stay at a really, really nice price.
Love it.
I love it. I think I took him as my wide receiver 1 in our Scott Fishbowl mock draft last night. I'm coming off the edge.
Do you know when you got him, like what round it was, or you don't remember?
It had to be like the 5th round, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, that sounds right. I think that. Yeah. Last night in the one we were in together. Duh. Yep. Yeah, I was gonna say. I think I just saw him go in the 5th. Duh, it was you. Okay.
Yeah, I'm
that's
not
like
letting.
perfect.
It's
round.
perfect. It's perfect,
Yeah.
and I'm at the 108, so it's a tough spot. It's not like I have first pick on what I want, but if Michael Thomas falls back to me, especially in Scott Fishbowl,
Beautiful.
I'm okay with that because I know he's getting the majority of targets. I think he's going to get at least 130 targets this year, no matter who the quarterback is.
Mm-hmm.
But enough about the Falcons. We talked about Russell Gage. Let's move on to the Panthers. We talked a little bit about Sam Darnold.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about him being a viable streaming option at the end of your draft. You could pick him up or wait until waivers.
Yep.
How about the wide receivers? DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson. Now, Robbie Anderson's going way later, wide receiver 34 and ADP of 85, compared to DJ Moore, ADP of 56, wide receiver 21. Would you be willing to take a shot on either of these guys with Sam Darnold at the quarterback?
My heart is broken from DJ Moore last season. It's still broken. There were some games where it just hurt, but then he had some good ones. I probably am going to just be, I don't know. I guess the word is petty and pass up on DJ Moore, and I'd rather have Robbie Anderson way later.
Yeah, the value gap is real. And they both averaged 14 points a game. It was 14.1 for DJ Moore, 14 flat for Robbie Anderson. So, yeah, give me the guy that averages the same exact amount of points, has a rapport with the quarterback already. That's another big thing because Robbie Anderson looked great with Darnold on the Jets. So, and I feel like in that offense, he's going to be doing everything, stretching the field, and he gets open, and they have that connection. And I love that price. If I'm going to be able to grab him later, and he's my second wide receiver, and at that 56, like you said earlier, Cooter, like I can get a quarterback in a single QB league. I'd rather take a QB and Robbie Anderson than DJ Moore and something else later. So yeah, value speaks.
Yeah, I'm with you on the value part of DJ Moore. I think I might pass on him for another position, especially around that 56 range, going into the late 5th round there. But Robbie Anderson, I like it. I think the connection is good. We saw Robbie Anderson come out and say that Sam Darnold looks like a different kind of player. He's revamped in the Joe Brady offense, which I love.
Yeah.
And we saw Teddy Bridgewater quietly throw for 3,700 yards last year. Sam Darnold is buried in that Adam Gase shadow. And I think he was buried with him when Robbie Anderson was on the field with him for the Jets. And I think we saw Robbie Anderson break out a couple times last year, didn't score too many touchdowns, but was able to have a connection with Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater. All right. Sam Darnold is a way better quarterback functionally than Teddy Bridgewater. He can scramble a little bit better. He has a better arm, and he has a better vision, I'm hoping. And Teddy Bridgewater, he's been banged up. So if Teddy Bridgewater can get 3,700 yards and make Robbie Anderson a viable fantasy receiver, I don't see why not Sam Darnold cannot. And I think Robbie Anderson at his current price of ADP 85 is solid. It's a solid wide receiver 4 on your redraft leagues and or flex. So yeah, I'm all in on Robbie Anderson. I've always been though.
Yeah, I don't see a way that they don't finish, wide receiver 2s. Like even if it's 23 and 24, like they're gonna finish that high based on Curtis Samuel left. Darnold is physically gifted tool-wise like Tannehill, and when he went to Tennessee, you saw that offense flourish. He's got mobility, like you said, he can run. So the offense is going to be explosive, and we like we do with the Giants, you forget they have CMC.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like the sky's the limit. They have all the upside, and I like both of them. If either one of them was my wide receiver 2, I wouldn't be mad leaving a draft, especially if I went running back heavy.
Man, talking to you guys now, I talk myself into Sam Darnold later in drafts.
Right.
And honestly, with breaking it down here,
Robbie going at 85, he could, depending on how you're drafting and how you're picking it, he could even be your wide receiver 3.
Yeah.
Right? Like he's later. He could be.
I'm a little hesitant on that because I know he's a field stretcher, and the simple fact is you don't know when he's going to hit. So it would have to be, yes, like you said, like a wide receiver 3 flex option.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't want him as my wide receiver 2. I don't want to depend on him too much. But if I know he has a good matchup, like say he's going up against Atlanta, they have weak cornerbacks, I will definitely go ahead out there and play Robbie Anderson. And they play 2 times a year, so I'll get some of that. Fair enough. All right, we're gonna move into some Cooter territory here. I heard you were a fan of Tom Brady. Is that the truth? Yeah, like you got on the TB12 train, right?
Yeah, he's the GOAT.
He's the GOAT. You proclaim him as the GOAT.
I mean, I respect him. I respect what he does, but at the end of the day, he is my nemesis. I don't know. I'm pissed that he came to the NFC South.
I mean, hey, if he came to the NFC East, I'd be really, really mad as well. I mean, and Juan had to deal with him in the AFC East 20 years for 20 years.
20 years of hatred. I hated Tom Brady. Everything was always negative about Tom Brady. And I was one of those people that had him in that magical 07 season with Randy Moss. And I broke the cardinal rule back in those days where you don't draft your home guy, your rivals. But Brady's doing it, and now he's doing it to you. So it's kind of like a reversal, Cooter. You kind of enjoyed him for a couple of decades, and then now it's your turn to hate him. So I think you should hate him for me because I love him now, and I love the Bruce Arians offense. But
what's funny though, in fantasy, I don't hate him.
There you go.
Right? Yeah, how could you? Because he's finishing as a top 10 quarterback. He finished QB8 last year. And he's poised to do it again with the full system in place.
Yep. And I believe in like the locker room vibes too. Like when he took Gronk with him and he has that attitude and that air, and they've been there before. I mean, they took the Bucks to the Super Bowl. Like that was like a 9-7 team or something, not 7-9 team, like a 5 and something. Like it was bad. And then they took them there. And I don't think it's just skill. I do think he's the GOAT. I do think he's talented, but I think something comes with, sorry, kid. I think something comes with the fact that he can sit in that locker room and make them understand, like, we're going here, and they believe him and they can get together and go, So I like him in fantasy, and I'm again terrified of him as a Saints fan.
I couldn't agree more. I'm on the Tom Brady train. If he falls to me, I think I may take Jalen Hurts over him just for the Konami code for the rushing upside, which he's ranked QB9, Tom Brady, and Jalen Hurts is QB10. I mean, you might have your choice of those in the late 5th, early 6th round in drafts. I'm willing to take a shot on one of these quarterbacks this year in the 5th or 6th round. I'm not going to wait like we traditionally did. And I said that at the top of the show, and Tom's part of that group. Like we saw him, he's poised to throw for 40 touchdowns this year.
Absolutely. And he has so many pieces around him. It's just like, I don't know, man. The odds are just he's probably gonna go back to the Super Bowl, right? Like he has everybody, he has everything he needs.
And then some. They got everybody back. He threw the ball 606 times last year. Like that's a lot of pass attempts. That was top 5 in the league. So it's not like he's going to be afraid to sling it. That was in the first year. He's all about timing and all about chemistry. He's been preaching it for 20 years. I've been listening to the same thing. And now he's going to have a full off season and really get them right. Maybe Godwin's healthy the entire year. Mike Evans doesn't get banged up. Like there's a lot of things that if they go right for this team, you're looking at a top 5 quarterback. So that's, where you pay the 5th, 6th round prices for a guy that has top 5 potential. Like week in and week out, he's going to be great. Give me the GOAT. I'm in on it this year. I'll fall for it like a sucker too.
Yeah, I mean, you have to,
right?
Like that's how it goes, man. I'm not worried about it. Don't feel like you're a sucker. I think.
Oh, he's burned me so many times, Chef. You know what I mean? In fantasy, like he'll just have a mediocre fantasy season. What if this is the year they come on and say, all right, we want to run it 500 times?
I mean, they could do that
too.
Don't
know, man.
And that brings up a good question. Like, who are you going with if they are running the ball 500 times? Are you going with Lombardi Lenny at running back or Ronald Jones? They're going right beside each other. And are we worried about Gio Bernard stealing any work from these guys? I mean, shout out Gio Bernard with the mustache. Like your mustache is beautiful, dude, but your fantasy production is not as pretty.
He spoils it though. Like he'll come in and throw a whole monkey wrench in that plan. I feel like he's going to be the James White of this offense. He's going to be a problem. You're not going to know which guy to start, just like you did last year. You didn't know if it was going to be Fournette or if it was going to be Ronald Jones, but there should be a consistent pass catching guy in a Tom Brady type offense. And I feel like that's going to be Gio Bernard.
Wow.
Value late. Like he's going to be one of those guys, that you look up and then he's Nyheim Hines and you're like, well, where did he get to RB15? Like, how did he get there? And it was because of the volume. That doesn't work.
Whoa, that just blew my mind. I'm like not in on Giovanni Bernard actually being something for fantasy this year.
I saw the drops. I saw the drops from Rojo and I saw the drops from Fournette, and then they went out and got him. I mean, they drafted Keyshawn Vaughn last year. He could have fit that role, but he doesn't trust him in pass protection. And Brady, again, chemistry and trust. And I feel like the veteran Gio Bernard is going to inspire that trust, and he's going to be the pass-catching guy.
Well, I mean, you can go out and get Giovanni Bernard in the last round of your draft. His ADP right now is at 193 overall. I mean, is he worth a stash or just a waiver wire pickup? Like, I think he's a waiver wire. Yeah. I mean, if one of these guys go down, I can see him being a hot commodity, but I'm personally not going out there and picking up Giovanni Bernard, hoping that he produces anything for me, especially with Lombardi, Leonard, Fournette, and Ronald Jones, ahead of him on the depth chart. I prefer Ronald Jones or Fournette as an RB3 flex option, bye week fill-in, not trusting these guys any other way, to be honest.
We were just talking about the 6th round. Yeah. That's where they're going, 6th, 7th round. And I'm still I can still get Tom Brady or I can get Leonard Fournette. Give me Tom Brady. Right. So I can still get Jalen Hurts in the 6th round.
They're all going right next to each other. Yeah. ADP 77, ADP 70, Tom Brady 72. Give me Tom Brady rather than if I already have running back sewn up, which I plan to, then yes.
Yep.
Yes, you're
I
not.
agree.
I'm not waiting on these teams that have split backfields. I'm getting the guys that are going to anchor my fantasy team for a championship.
Yes, sir.
And then what about the wide receivers? Now, 2 wide receivers, 3 wide receivers that are going to be fantasy relevant this year. Antonio Brown being one of them. He just got his case dismissed. He's all good to go. He's on the field as the wide receiver 3. And I'm not too worried about him. A late round flyer if you want to, but I'm more concerned about Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. And since we're believing in Tom Brady, I'm assuming that we're believing in both of these wide receivers as top end options. Who would you rather prefer? Chris Godwin, a little bit later, ADP 44, or Mike Evans, ADP 39? I guess you have to pick one because they're going to be drafted pretty close to each other.
I mean, I feel like at that point, it's kind of who falls to you depending on where you are in your draft. But I'm totally fine taking Mike Evans. I know some people are bullish on him, but I'd take it. I'd take either one at where they're going.
Yeah, in the 4th round as my first wide receiver after I took 3 running backs, I wouldn't have a problem with either. I think I like the volume of Godwin. He played fewer games than Mike Evans and only had 5 fewer catches. So, like, he's going to be the one that gets the catches, but we don't know what AB's impact is going to be either on that offense. So, if I can pivot off of them and take someone else, yeah. You know, if you're asking me Kenny Golladay or one of them, I think I want Kenny Golladay. Like, he's a clear-cut one.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's going way lower. So, if I can Robert Woods. If I can get Robert Woods and not have the headache of week to week, what's going to happen? Because I own Mike Evans everywhere. Like, I have Mike Evans shares everywhere, and I've been a truther of his forever, so his whole career. But he goes away some games. He's not as consistent as, let's say, Godwin.
He is a compiler.
He's a compiler. He'll have a 3-touchdown game or a 2-touchdown game and have 2 catches for 2 touchdowns, and that's all he did. You know, because he gets the targets down by the goal line. So yeah, he's boom or bust. He gave you 13 touchdowns last year. Godwin gave you 7. So they're gonna get their production, but I'd rather take someone else in that 4th round as my first wide receiver. I probably would go safer. And
So maybe that's a guy that you want to let your buddies draft, and then after he has a few off weeks, you try to trade for him.
That's a good idea, and I get the right value.
I like the way Cooter thinks.
Yes,
go ahead.
Yeah, if my guy in the 6th round, Cooper Kupp, you know, has a good game or two, and I can flip him and get one of those guys that, you know, like you said, that paid a 3rd or 4th round price for him, then yeah, I'll do it at that point. Yes. Good strategy.
I like both of them. I wouldn't mind taking either or. I'm a little bit more higher on Chris Godwin than I am Mike Evans because of the compiling situation. I think Godwin could be a more consistent fantasy producer, and you're getting them around the 3-4 turn. So it's perfect to have, like, if you go running back, and then you come to your 3rd round, at the end of the 3rd round, you're grabbing one of these wide receivers. So I'm okay with Godwin. I'm not so keen on Mike Evans.
Fair enough, Chef. Fair enough.
All right. What else we got? Gronk.
Oof.
The Gronkinator.
Oof. Only in best ball.
ADP 123, tight end 13. Is he valid as a late round flyer, though?
I'll take him late. I've been taking him
12th
real
round?
late. Yeah.
10th round. Oh, no. 123 is the 10th, 11th round. That's not a bad spot. I mean, if you need one, you go out and get him. If you punted
on it, yeah, I'll take him on that position, you know.
I mean, he finished tight end 9 last year, and he gave you some kind of fantasy production. But like we said, after all the other top 5 tight ends, top 6 perhaps, with the news of Gerald Everett coming into the game with Seattle, apparently he's going to be a superstar this year.
Could be good.
You know, I don't think you're really worried about tight end too much. If you need one, Gronk is a good fill-in. We know he's going to be used in the offense. I'm a little concerned about O.J. Howard's usage coming back off the ACL injury. That may throw a wrench in his production. You may see Gronk more of a fill-in as a decoy for this offense. But either way, Gronk's not bad. Juan?
He's one of 2. If I take him, I'm taking another one. I'm going to get Cooter's boy Troutman. I'm going to go get Komet. I'm getting someone else to back myself up just to make sure that I'm safe. The injury thing was real before last season. And like you said, some games some games good. So if I take Gronk, I'm taking another one. Which stinks. I hate taking 2 tight ends in redraft leagues. But
I mean, you don't have to, though. You could take one and then stream.
Yeah, but it gets thin.
It's
down
a
there.
tight end.
Yeah, you're right. It's
I
so
mean,
ugly.
and then
It's such a
sometimes
gross
you
position.
land a good one like Logan Thomas or something like that, or a Gerald Everett.
That he could be this year's Logan Thomas.
Yeah,
right?
he
Been
could
in
be
the
this
league for a
year's
while
Logan
and then
Thomas.
finally
I mean,
blows
he's
up.
matching up age-wise, I believe.
Close.
All right, well, that wraps up the show. Cooterdoodle, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate you.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I
We
enjoyed it.
try to
Yeah,
wrap
always
through it
have
up pretty
fun. Yeah.
fast. We don't want to keep you too
Yeah.
long. We know you have family. We know you're holding down a Matthew Berry Fantasy Life app situation, Miss Popularity. I'm glad we got you on the show first before anybody else.
That is.
And
Oh,
we will
no.
always.
If y'all
we
want
will
me back, I'm coming back. Like,
Oh,
wait till the
we
season
always
starts
want
when
you to
I'm
come
really. Oh yeah, I'll be back.
On the
Definitely.
on the Sunday tilt, you got to come and join us on the Sunday
Absolutely.
Come on a Sunday tilt. Come on the tilt is real. Like
Yeah.
it's great. Cooter, we love you. Thank you
tilt.
so
We do.
much.
Congratulations.
Congratulations on
Thank
your
you.
position with the Fantasy Life app.
Hey, what was that? What was happening with that app? Like this whole hour that she's been on here with us, he's probably stressing. Like somebody is out there stressing.
No,
that nothing's
she
coming out.
multitasks.
Okay. All right.
Like she's tweeting out stuff as we speak. Gerald Everett, tight end 6. Haven't you heard? Jump
Let's
on the
go.
train.
I
Like
love
that's
it.
that's the kind of talent that Cooterdoodle has.
I love it.
But no, I mean, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate you. Go ahead and shout out anything you want. I know you got some things going on. I know you have your little petite pods. Tell some people about that
Yeah,
may have not
Petite
heard about
Pods on YouTube. We have, if you want to follow at MB Fantasy Life on Twitter and Instagram, and then we'll be picking the people for the Weenus Together Charity League pretty soon. So if you haven't signed up for that, go to at Together Weenus, I think on Twitter, or weenustogether.com.
it. Nice.
Nice.
Weenustogether.com. Everybody has a weenus. It's right
Oh,
there. Isn't it your like
Weenus
funny bone?
Together. I don't know. It's like the
No,
skin, you know?
It's the skin on
Oh.
the
The skin.
Yeah.
Well, we're all weenus together. Juan,
Juan Carlos Pena at FF1 of a kind, and I'm just happy to have done this show with Cooter. Happy to be in the studio, which soon will be in the actual studio. And
It's
looking forward
building.
to that. It's almost there. It's almost there. And
Can't
thank
wait
you,
to
Cooter.
see it.
And Chef, you're gonna shout out next week's guest.
oh yeah, next week we got a good one. Shout out to my boy Dave Kluge will be
Yes, sir.
joining us to break down the NFC North, the official Bears fan. I'm sure we'll talk about Andy Dalton being a starting
yeah.
quarterback for the
Oh, yeah.
Chicago Bears at least 3 times.
At least.
But yeah, it's going to be a great show. Come check us out next week, Wednesday, 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. You can find me at FF_chef on Twitter. You can find my articles with ballblastfootball.com. Latest one came out. I have a Dynasty article, 3 cells for rebuild. Go ahead and check it out if you play some Dynasty fantasy football. And until next time, guys, have a good weekend. Have a good week. Shout out to all those fathers out there that were fathers on Father's Day.
Yeah,
And
belated Father's Day. Yes.
we're out. Have a good day. Peace.
Peace.
Thanks for tuning in to the Tilt is Real Fantasy Podcast. Like and subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Check out our website at thetiltisreal.com for more great fantasy football content. We'll catch you guys next time on The Tilt is Real.